This video about SLA printing has been supported by Skillshare.com. If you are looking for an introduction to 3D printing in general, to computer-aided design and manufacturing, or if you want to learn more about bonding and molecular structures in the photopolymers we are about to use, then Skillshare's massive online database has got you covered. Check them out with a link in the description and get 2 months for free. I've been a late adopter of 3D printing. I didn't like most of the linear hardware that was available before the Cetus came out. And I didn't like the concept of squeezing a plastic turd through a nozzle and hoping that it would somehow stick to the next layer. Well, turns out I was wrong. Printing with plastic filament ended up being one of my favorites. For practical reasons and just for fun. And the technology keeps getting better and better. Most manufacturers are experimenting with multi-material inputs now. There might even be something multi-materialistic on its way to me right now. Not gonna lie, I'm excited about that. But there are limits of what can be accomplished with fused filament fabrication. In terms of resolution, material properties, and overall awesomeness. So today we'll shoot a powerful laser through a precise galvo system into different resins with very different properties and pull a mind-blowingly precise print out of it. Sound good? Let's go. This is a Peopoly Moai. More accurately, it's a collection of components, and one of many possible arrangements is an outstanding 3D printer. The kit was delivered in a beautifully organized multi-layer package, along with stickers and calibration templates. A detailed manual with illustrations is provided as a download. It is a relatively complicated kit, but if you allocate a clean table in a complementary color, you can finish it in an afternoon. Even I did, in spite of this obnoxious camera getting in my way all the time. Rubber gloves are not yet mandatory, but my white and nerdy complexion would confuse the auto exposure in front of all of these wonderfully black parts. First we'll build a frame from anodized aluminium extrusions. Their correct positions and orientations are important, because they have been pre-drilled to match other components. They are individually labeled though, and that makes it very easy to get right. The same goes for the backs of small parts. All nicely labeled and good quality hardware. No burrs or anything. The largest frame parts are pre-assembled and get connected with these horizontal struts. I'm not fully tightening the bolts just yet. I want to make sure that everything is square first. I think an aluminium frame like this would be strong enough for a 3D printer. But all machines with moving parts inevitably struggle with vibrations. So it's a fantastic idea to attach some heavy powder-coated steel to the aluminium frame. In this case, the Z-axis. Much to my delight, it's based on a linear rail. And it's not the cheapest high-win either. I've seen way too many of those lately. The lead screw is a trapezoidal one with a spring-loaded plastic nut. That could be better, but the Z-axis doesn't do any hard work, so I think it's fine. Next is the powder-coated steel vat holder. It has to be mounted in such a way that allows it to be tilted. That way you can catapult your finished prints out of the window. Not really. I'll demonstrate in a moment why this tilting mechanism is so important, and why it is actually my least favorite concept in the machine. Another heavy powder-coated plate serves as ground floor. It'll be the mounting point for the sensitive laser assembly, and it gives the machine a low center of gravity. Most of the circuit boards will be mounted on the front panel. For that reason it has pressed threaded inserts. Fancy. This thing is rapidly becoming one of the prettiest machines I have. Matte black everything. Too bad I'll have to hide it in a glossy acrylic shell. For now, I'd like to take the electronics for granted and get printing. Later I'll definitely take apart a closed-loop mirror galvanometer. Not one belonging to the Moai though. This system has been pre-calibrated in the factory, and I don't have the courage to disrupt it yet. Especially not where this central assembly is concerned. It consists of a 405 nanometer laser and the aforementioned XY Galvo scanner. It is what makes this machine special, at a time where everyone's developing LCD-based resin printers. Time for a first magic smoke test. That sounds terrible, but it's actually correct. The VAT tilting mechanism doesn't have a limit switch, so to make sure that it is in a known position, the homing cycle just drives it into a mechanical limit for a while. That causes the dreaded step losing sound. I'm sure they've tested that sufficiently, but I do prefer the way that the Z-axis has a proper limit switch. Now that I know that it's working, I'll proceed to the final step and add the most striking visual feature. Honor produced by Jintao, black translucent cast acrylic sheets. They'll protect your eyes from the laser and the resin from your eyes, and all the other sources of stray UV light. If you are going to build the same machine, here's my advice. Take some of the resin and mix it with common household variety dirt. Smear it all over the printer and let it cure for a day. Then you'll have a perfectly working machine that you can touch without worrying about fingerprints, and one that doesn't require daily dusting. Otherwise the Moai is a joy to look at, but a constant source of work. It has this cute little lockable front door. Probably so that children don't get to the candy-colored resin and the happily dancing laser. I don't know. When I was a stupid kid, that would have been more like a challenge to me. As you can tell by the steadily declining video quality, I'm running out of daylight. Tomorrow we'll start printing. Good morning. What a beauty. It doesn't even need warning labels. It looks dangerous enough as it is. The SLA printing workflow is actually no different from that of other printers. You get yourself a model, and then you generate the support structure in software. With a profile from the manufacturer, Meshmixer can do that automatically. That way you can be relatively confident that the shape you want will be printed successfully. But in cases like this, the amount of support is a little over the top. So instead I'm doing it manually. That statement can be translated into hold my beer and watch this. It usually leads to the most hilarious failures. Then you slice it, give the G-code to the printer and let it do its magic. Again, there is a customized version of Cura available from the manufacturer. The standard VAT is made from acrylic and coated with PDMS. I thought that that was a special substance at first, but as it turns out it's actually one of the most common types of silicone. The fact that that doesn't interact with the resi while also being UV transparent is very convenient. Because that way the printer can just lower its build platform into the resin-filled vat and selectively cure layer by layer. So precise, elegant, silent, and then... Of course the freshly cured layer adheres to the vat. To get some new liquid resin for the next layer, the previous one has to be peeled off. That's the purpose of the tilting mechanism. While the silicone coating helps, the step is still the opposite of precise, elegant, and silent. It is an inherent problem to all upside-down resin printers, but we can prepare for it in software. We have to minimize the sticky area per layer. But we also can't build too high, otherwise the torque would just separate the part from the build platform. So the most common method is a 45-degree angle and sufficient support structure. No idea what the purpose of that kickstand is. But with a minimal layer area and Peopoly's standard resin, I did get some spectacular prints. When a print is finished and hopefully still attached to the build platform, I'm transferring it into some kind of cleaning solution. The combination of flammable IPA and a cheap Chinese ultrasonic cleaner doesn't feel like such a wise choice. Any suggestions? After that, prints have to be dried and post-cured. For days in sunlight, or for hours in a curing bucket. Not my idea. I had to boost mine a little bit because the resin is designed for high-intensity laser curing, and it wasn't impressed with a simple LED strip. Here are some results. This is the low-poly Fennec Fox from Thingiverse. I was a bit worried about those majestic ears, but it all went fine. This was supposed to be a pencil holder, but I made it a bit too small for that, I'm afraid. This is an EVE Online spaceship. It's still sticky because I failed in the post-processing. This is the first print that I tried to hollow in Mesh Mixer. Liquid resin got stuck in the cavity and oozed out during post-processing. This conspiracy theorist sent in his muscular lizard people figure, and it was one of the most difficult prints. I had the supports generated automatically, and that was a grave mistake, because removing those cost him 2 fingers and left some scars. The parts shrink slightly in the X and Y directions, and that must be predicted and compensated in software. I think I just made a common beginner's mistake. I hope it is, and I'm not the only one so careless. I forgot about some debris on the build platform and drove it right into the vat. That way I managed to pierce the silicone coating. It's not the end of the world, the thing can be recoated or bought for $35. But Peopoly has kindly provided another higher quality vat. Instead of a silicone coating, this one has an FEP foil. Fluorinated ethylene propylene is a close relative of PTFE, aka Teflon. It's transparent, however, and it can withstand even more aggressive resins, like these ominous aluminium bottles from 3djake.com. I wanted to try the clear resin because of its clarity. I wanted to try and print a lens with it. That works, as long as I don't rinse the part after printing. But since it claims to have high impact strength, I've also printed a few test pieces for that. I think the standard Moai resin is pretty strong, but brittle. Clear impact seems to have a bit more flexibility. Haha, but I'm still stronger. Let's see how the strong X resin does. It looks a bit like cement, but it smells just as badly as all the other resins. It's either that or IPA in my apartment these days. I love it. My camera decided that this test was too cruel to record, so all I can say is that it did really well until the pace station came along. I'll try and find better applications for the next video. And those were only the basics of SLA printing and the Peopoly Moai. This thing allows you to print astonishingly beautiful and detailed parts without any modifications. You see where I'm going with this? Imagine equipping an f-theta lens that is usually mandatory for laser galvo systems. Can I expose circuit boards with that? What can be done against parts sticking to the vat? Some say an oxygen-permeable window is the answer. That could inhibit polymerization in a small dead zone and allow for a constant supply of fresh resin. Others will just turn the entire machine upside down. Or will this soon be the correct side up? And what about a different laser emitter? I've seen this femtosecond laser on sale for only $250,000. We could use that to shoot 2 infrared photons into the UV curable resin. Who knows, maybe that would cause polymerization with a nanometer resolution and no scattering or warming or anything. Gotta save a bit of money and accept a few more sponsorships to make that happen though. Until then, take a look at Skillshare. Their premium membership gives you unlimited access to high-quality classes made by real experts. The first 500 to sign up with the link in the description get 2 months for free. And after that, it's less than $10 a month for an annual subscription. That's a low price for the freedom to learn new skills and to work on what you enjoy. Or what is unpleasant but necessary in some cases. Thank you for watching.